The agenda for today, we'll start with an overview of Lymba Corporation and then go directly into a demonstration of the proof of concept using Salesforce's internal support case information, such as case emails and knowledge articles. And then we will describe the best practices we use to configure PowerAgent in the Salesforce environment. As a note, these would be the same practices that we would recommend to any customer using PowerAgent. And finally, we'll conclude with time for questions at the end. So who are we? We are a natural language processing company that has been in business for more than 15 years. We provide software solutions that take unstructured text and transform it into structured knowledge. And this can then be used for any data analysis, question answering, and automation, as we'll see with PowerAgent. Our main product is the K platform, where K stands for knowledge. And what we see here are all of the products that are supported by the K platform. The NLP pipeline is the cornerstone of our capabilities. It provides for all of the semantic tagging and markup, and that includes things like named entities, co-reference links, syntactic structure, and location and time tagging, as well as identifying up to 26 different types of semantic relations between concepts found in text. The document classification leverages the output of the NLP pipeline, and it provides capabilities to take an incoming document and label it automatically with a category and a confidence score for that category assignment. Viewpoint is our sentiment analysis tool and is leveraged by PowerAgent. So PowerAgent uses both document classification and viewpoint in order to provide a solution that allows for service request automation in the call center. PowerAnswer is one of our flagship products that performs natural language question answering over both structured and unstructured data and over more than one index at a time, if so desired. We have foreign language support. This is actually offered at two different levels. We have some products that operate directly on the foreign language text, and this includes PowerAgent. And the languages we support are English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, and Dutch. For other languages like Chinese and Arabic, we do have machine translation capabilities that take the foreign language text and transform it into English to be used by our English-based pipeline. Jaguar is our ontology builder. It automatically constructs ontologies from text by taking the semantic relations from the NLP pipeline and organizing them into a rich hierarchy. You can think of an ontology as a very rich taxonomy that has much more than is-a relationships, but also causation, part whole, agent, theme, and other roles. Finally, text to RDF takes all of the linguistic markup from the previous modules and transforms it into an RDF triple or a set of RDF triples that can be stored in any semantic database. Across the top, we see some of the solutions that are typically built on the K platform. The customer interaction solution is where PowerAgent sits. We have customized NLP solutions that include a diagnostic automated diagnostic tool that works in the mental health field. And then we have social media solutions that sit on top of things like blogs, Twitter posts, and emails in order to identify trends of categories and sentiment about products. Our interface compatibility for working with the K platform includes using W3C standards such as RDF OWL and Sparkle. We also have a proprietary XML format that can be used to communicate via SOAP messages, and of course web services are supported. It should be noted that any database that is compliant with RDF extensions will actually be automatically supported by using our text to RDF tool. And finally, we do have some direct API interfaces in both Java and C++, if that is so desired. Next, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Andreas. He's one of our lead software engineers who's worked on PowerAgent, and he'll walk through the proof of concept, the results we had, and the best practices.
Hello everyone. I'll be going over the proof of concept that Lymba did for Salesforce. Just to recap what PowerAgent does, it associates incoming customer emails with existing knowledge articles. It then automatically responds to those customer emails when its confidence is high, and it will attach knowledge article suggestions to cases in order to assist customer support agents when answering customer inquiries. The data that we used for the proof of concept is the Salesforce's internal customer support data, and we ran a benchmark on that data using PowerAgent, and it got 75% of the emails correct, meaning that it identified the correct knowledge article for 75% of the incoming emails, which translates into a 30% auto response rate, which means on almost 1/3 of all of the customer support requests, PowerAgent was confident enough to send out the related article, and the email sent out had a very high accuracy. We found that it had an 80% accuracy on the test data. So the numbers sound pretty nice, but to give you a better idea of what PowerAgent does, we'll do a quick live demo, and we'll be following the story of Jane Smith, who is a Salesforce customer, and she's having some logon problems. So we have a draft of an email here that says multiple users are not able to log on to Salesforce, and she wants to confirm that there's no issues on the Salesforce side, and they've tried restarting, logging in, relogging in, etc. So Jane goes ahead and sends this email, and what will happen is the email gets converted to a case using the existing email to case functionality in Salesforce. PowerAgent will then operate on that new case and perform two functions. The first is it does sentiment analysis to detect if the email has negative sentiment, and the second is it will find knowledge articles related to the email, and if it has a high enough confidence, it will send an answer back to Jane immediately containing the knowledge article that answers her inquiry. So if we switch over to the inbox, we'll see that there's already a new message, and the content of the message says that if she's having some problems with slowness or is not able to log in, she should perform a trace route and send it back to Salesforce. So this is the knowledge article that is the correct reply for this particular inquiry. And let's go ahead and look at what that looks like on the Salesforce side. So we'll be switching over to the case view, and we'll do a quick refresh to see the new case related to the email we just sent. And most of this view will look familiar to you. There will be a couple of new things. The first you'll notice is the PowerAgent status. It's said that it's already auto-responded to this case, and you can see that the case status is closed. It's also done sentiment analysis and identified the contents of the message to be neutral. And if we scroll down a bit, we'll also see some additional information from PowerAgent. The PowerAgent suggestions, it says that it's already auto-responded. It's found the associated article, and the confidence in this case was higher than the threshold for the category, meaning it was confident enough to go ahead and automatically send that article to the customer. And we can see that down here in the case history. The email was already sent out, and the article was already attached to the case automatically. So in this scenario, PowerAgent performed all of the functions that an agent would normally perform answering an incoming email. So let's look at a second example. This one's going to be slightly different. It's a similar topic, and Jane is again experiencing login problems, but this time it's going to be related to her password rather than connectivity issues. And the reason this example is interesting is because it demonstrates how PowerAgent is able to pick up on some of the subtle differences between different issues with logging in. In the Salesforce sample data, there were more than 5 different knowledge articles related to various login problems, ranging from resetting a password, resetting a system administrator password, resetting a password without a security question, and several performance-related login issues. So the second email, she's asking, can you reset my password? She thinks the answer to her security question is Sprout, but the password retrieval system doesn't agree. And there's a little bit of noise at the end of the email. She's talking about the app exchange also, and we'll see that PowerAgent is also able to identify the relevant portions. So we'll go ahead and send this email. And similar to the previous one, what we'll see is PowerAgent processing the email, and this time again sending a reply with an attached knowledge article. And the knowledge article in this case will be, instead of the login, it will have a very detailed answer about not just forgetting the password, but also specifically forgetting the password and not knowing the security question. So we'll do one other quick email, and this one will demonstrate PowerAgent giving some suggestions to an agent. So this email is similar to the second example. The difference is it's much more brief. So Jane just says the answer to her security question is not working. What should she do now? So this will have less information for PowerAgent to figure out what's going on, which means PowerAgent will be less confident. And in this particular case, when we send the email, PowerAgent will not automatically reply, but instead automatically provide some suggestions. So let's see what that looks like in Salesforce. We'll switch over to the cases again. And here in the case view, we see the cases related to both the second and third example. And we'll go ahead and look at the third one, which is the more interesting of the two. So here we'll notice a couple of differences between the first example that we looked at and this one. The status is still new, so the case has not been closed, and the PowerAgent status is auto-suggested, meaning instead of having sent a reply, it's provided some suggestions. And if we scroll down a bit, we can actually see the suggestions that came from PowerAgent. And if you look at the confidence scores, you can see that the confidence is below the thresholds for these suggestions. But we also see that the correct knowledge article regarding the password security question reset is in the suggestions. So the agent can go ahead and select this answer and click Use Suggestion. And that will do two things. The first is it will attach the article and close the case and email the customer, similar to the auto response. The second thing which it does, which is kind of neat, is it also sends information about this case back to PowerAgent so that PowerAgent can learn from it and in the future be able to better identify similar incoming emails. So what that means is, as the system's being used by agents, without any additional effort, PowerAgent will be sitting there also learning from it and increase its confidence in answers and be able to answer more questions automatically. So let's go back to the slides. And the next part will be a quick overview of the best practices that are required to set up PowerAgent. And this also reflects what we did for the proof of concept for Salesforce. So there's 3 steps. The first step is importing the emails. The second step is tuning the PowerAgent benchmark to make sure it achieves a high accuracy and there's no errors in the training data. And the third step is tuning the email response thresholds, which give you control over how confident PowerAgent has to be before it sends out an email for a particular knowledge article. So we'll start with the email import. The Salesforce data consisted of 2,300 emails spread out over more than 500 knowledge articles. So that's a pretty sparse data set, and to give you an idea of what that means, this graph shows the popularity of an article versus how many of that type of article there are. So if you look at the right, you can see articles that have more than 50 emails associated with them, meaning they're quite popular. There's only 8 knowledge articles that fall into that category. And as the popularity goes down, the number of articles fitting into that category go up. And there's actually quite a few knowledge articles which are almost never used. They're only used with 1 email. So this presents a bit of a challenge for PowerAgent, because PowerAgent is a learning-based system, which means the more example it has, the better it performs. So what PowerAgent does is it focuses on those popular articles, the ones that have lots of emails attached with them. And in order to prevent PowerAgent from sending out incorrect email messages, it only auto-responds to articles from the set of the most popular. And that set, of course, is flexible over time, so as you get more feedback, you can move more knowledge articles into this top set where PowerAgent will be confident enough to respond. So once you have all the data imported, the next step will be improving the performance. And essentially, you're finding errors in the imported data. This is an iterative process that takes about 3 to 5 hours. And PowerAgent comes with all of the tools necessary to do this. And it's not required to validate all of the data. PowerAgent will actually present the data in such a way that the entries which are most likely to be errors will be presented first. So you only have to validate a fraction of the data. For the proof of concept, we only had to validate about 20% of the data before the system achieved a high performance. And to give you an idea of what it looks like to perform that optimization, I'll just go through the interface real quick. So the way it works is you select a category where you want to improve the annotations. You select by a type of error, and then you can look at the true category, which is the article that is attached to the email historically, and you can look at the classified category, which is the category that PowerAgent thinks the email should be in. And in this case, we're looking at spurious errors, which means emails that were put into this category by into this article by PowerAgent, but maybe shouldn't be there. And you can also look at the email contents by hovering over one of these rows. And as we can see, this one does indeed ask about the Salesforce IP address whitelist. So in this case, PowerAgent was right and the annotation was wrong. So we can edit the entry and update it so that it reflects the whitelist knowledge article. The last step is tuning the response thresholds, which gives you control over how confident PowerAgent has to be before it sends out an email. Again, this is a pretty quick process. It takes about 1 to 2 hours. For the proof of concept, it took about 2 hours to do. And the way the response thresholds work is they let you find a nice balance between how often PowerAgent sends out emails and how accurate it is when it's sending emails. So the more emails you send, the lower your accuracy will be. The higher your accuracy is, the lower your auto-response rate will be. And this lets you balance that for each individual knowledge article. And by performing some of these threshold adjustments, we were able to boost the accuracy from 70 to 80% of the outgoing emails, and the final auto response rate was 30%, as mentioned earlier. So I'll also go ahead and show you the interface for this real quick. The way it works is you set a target accuracy for each knowledge article. The one highlighted here is a little bit below the average of 80 that we mentioned earlier. It's at 76. You can see the overall system performance, and you can see some details on the knowledge article that you're currently working with. And let's say we wanted to adjust this number from 76 to 81. And as you can see with that switch, it changes the overall auto response accuracy from 78 to 79, meaning we wanted it to be more accurate and the system became more accurate, and the auto response rate went from 32 down to 31 because PowerAgent is a little bit more reserved with this particular category and sends out a few less emails. So that covers the best practices setup, and it's a fairly straightforward process. It takes only about 4 to 7 hours, and that's setting up a system starting from a blank slate. And PowerAgent provides all of the tools to help optimize the performance. And as I mentioned earlier, this will actually improve over time as PowerAgent gets feedback automatically from agents when they're answering incoming support emails. So to conclude, with minimal effort, PowerAgent was able to answer 30% of the incoming emails, almost a third of the entire email volume. With a very high accuracy, it got 80% of the outgoing emails had the correct knowledge article in them. This, of course, improves the efficiency of a customer support center and increases the customer satisfaction with immediate responses. As we saw earlier, Jane Smith had to wait only a few seconds before she had a very detailed reply to her inquiries. And this, of course, also reduces the workload on customer support agents. Are there any questions?